experience of making a film in Spain is a very beautiful one. The crews, in my experience, are small, and everyone has read the script. Even the dolly grip has read the script. And so that gives you a whole different energy, because you're not making film, you're making a very specific story. I think the stories that come out of Spanish cinema are so original, are so diverse, so many different subjects and spirits, and, you know, not run by Hollywood, not run by franchises, not run by money. You know, I would say it's a much more unconventional and individualistic kind of cinema. I think the films in the last 100 years, but especially now, the films of Spain and Mexico, the Mexican filmmakers have brought a whole new worlds to American audiences that have left a very strong impression. I, of course, would love to work with Pedro. We have talked about it every time we meet, and I think that he's now making films in English. Fortunately,
That's right.
Spanish. I hope to see him tomorrow night, and I shall make my case for being in his film. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Penelope Cruz, who I've met once before, and I'm hoping, of course, to see Pedro. I'm looking forward very much to seeing Jota, with whom I worked, and whose film Society of the Snow I admired very much. And but, you know, I haven't seen the films this year that are up for the Goyas, like Creature and 20,000 Species of Bees and Amour, and I can't remember the other several, but I haven't seen them, but I look forward to meeting those filmmakers, and some are women. And anyway, I'm very excited to, even for a night, be part of your family of Spanish cinema, and deeply, deeply honored to be honored by the community of Spanish film. I can't imagine a greater honor, frankly. I have such reverence for the history of Spanish film, of Mexican film. It's just in a class by itself, and I couldn't be more encantada and thrilled to be here for this award. I'm astonished, I'm grateful, I'm thrilled, I'm so excited. Since Ripley was living in the future, which was part of Ridley Scott's wonderful surprise, was the fact that the spaceship in the future is like an old rundown truck, not like the beautiful, beautiful world of 2001: A Space Odyssey. So I feel that gives a timelessness to these characters. In fact, human beings haven't changed, and our world is, it's a useful environment. So it has some modern things, some old things. So I am still, of course, being sent, alien scripts. One is interesting, that brings her more into the present, the future present. I feel our quality of films, of filmmaking, is very advanced. And I feel with the coming of, self-iPhone films and everything else, it's become much more democratic. You don't need to have gone to film school to make films. So we're hearing a lot of different voices in movies and in the theater. And so I feel that that's all very positive. Right now our movie industry in America seems very dominated by Marvel. And I think, great. But there's plenty of room for many other kinds of films, and it's always evolving. And I think in much more unexpected ways than I can talk about. So I feel that the individual has their voice, then the big companies like Marvel have their voice. There's a lot in between, and certainly many more kinds of stories. Stories are the most important thing in our business. To find a great story about more than just the characters in it is the goal of every filmmaker. And I feel that we're in a very good way about finding stories, and hopefully AI will stay out of it and not make, give us used stories, but fresh stories. I learned from Miss Bergman more by example. I feel very fortunate that the first great star I ever met was a woman of such grace, generosity, and she was always laughing. And she was, I was an understudy, and I rehearsed with her, and we had a wonderful time. But basically, I was the assistant stage manager. And every night I would go by and ask if she had any valuables. And she would laugh, and she'd say, that my friend always takes my valuables. But she never said, get out of here. I'm preparing. So I was very lucky. I didn't ask for advice from her, but to me, seeing a tall, big woman be such an incredible actress and have worked, she's such an extraordinary actress still in the history of film, and she's such a good person. I found out later that actually she just had breast cancer and had at least one breast removed. You would never have known that she had just come out of that. So a great inspiration to me, and in that way, mentoring. So it's always the same thing that motivates me. It's never about the role. I'm not oriented toward that. I'm not looking for the role that's going to do this for me or that for me. I'm always looking for a great story that I would want to see in the audience, a story with a good structure, a beginning, middle, and end, and a story that's about more than just the characters in it, because I think that allows films to live on. If it's too much of that moment or too specific to the characters, I don't think it has the same life afterward. It's fun, to see these stories live on now. Everything's on TV forever, So that's what I look for. I'm very story-oriented. I don't care if the role is big or small, and I don't really care. I'm not a snob. I don't just do, intellectual pictures. I like to jump around. From science fiction is fine with me, why not? And comedy, as long as I can mix it up, that means a great deal to me. I was discouraged as a young actor. I was told at my drama school that I had no talent and I'd never get anywhere. If you could imagine the class that Oscar Martinez gives in official competition, I would have been one of those kids who didn't leave but actually was asked to leave. So I'm very lucky to be here. I didn't give up. The movies I have coming out this year are a wonderful dark comedy called Dust Bunny that I am in with Mads Mikkelsen, written and directed by Brian Fuller, and a film called The Gorge. That's a big adventure love story. And then I'm working currently on Avatar 3. I work Monday. I can't look around your beautiful country. I go back early Sunday morning. And then I saw Jim Cameron showed me an hour plus of that last week. I have to say it's, I didn't know how you could top 2, but it's just such a different kind of film, a deeper kind of film. So I work on that now. I think there's some new scenes. So I'm busy. I wish I'll come back and have to look around Spain. It's true, we have made a lot of progress, still much progress to be made. I think there's a great deal of inspiration from the films of Pedro Almodovar, who champions women, and it, tells really complex, fascinating, entertaining stories about all kinds of women. So I think he's to be given as much credit as yeah. But things have improved a lot. I think the audience, Hollywood never gives the audience enough credit. Women want to see women. And for many years, they only thought about what young men wanted to see on the screen. And the audience of women was not important to them. Now, the business has changed. There are many facets. And women are a huge audience and have a huge appetite for stories about that include women of all ages. Thank goodness.